Hey everybody, I'm Ebony. This is Ebony's Creativity. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel. If you watched my last video, you would have heard me say I don't really do lavender furniture flips when I was referring to the drawer liners that I got for free in that cool set of furniture. Well, about 2 days later, I got a call for a lavender furniture flip, and so I'm going to be doing lavender today. However, I've been looking at the comments and you guys are asking me for beginner friendly videos. So in this video, I'm going to be showing my niece how to flip furniture. Hopefully some of the things that I showed her and told her are things that you would need to see in here. You told me that you want beginner friendly videos, but you didn't tell me exactly what it is that you want to know. So I tried to do my best to do this video from a teaching point of view. This is going to be a quick flip with maximum bang for our buck. I think it will sell highly. It would sell highly. I have a client for mine already because this was a commission piece, but I think it's something that will be beautiful, something that will have great sell potential, and something that is easy to do and quick to do. If you live in an apartment, you could even do this. So hopefully this is the kind of video that you guys wanted. If you still have additional questions or things that you want me to show in future videos, put a comment and let me know exactly what it is that you would want me to expand upon, and I can do that for you. So without further ado, let's hop right on into the clip. Here is today's flip. Like I said, is a commission piece from one of my really good clients. And as you can see, it gets a lot of use. It has lots of scuffs and dents and dings just from daily use, but it's solid wood and it's in really good overall condition. Like there's nothing that would need to be patched or filled or anything like that. Most of these things are surface level and can be sanded out, so that's really good. So I'm just giving you kind of a tour of the piece. Lots of scratches, but we can work that out with the sander. Inside is very clean, so that's really good. And yeah, so here is our piece for today. All right, so here is my niece, who I affectionately call Zaza, and she is going to start out by removing all the handles from the drawers and then numbering each drawer as she removes it. If you're a new flipper, you will find that certain pieces have drawers that only fit in certain places and that are really testy to remove or to put back in. So we wanted to make sure that we number everything so we can know exactly where to put each drawer back in. As she is finishing removing each handle, she's handing them to me, and then I'm going ahead and prepping them for paint. So I'm going to be using a primer and then a metallic gold spray paint on these, but the most important thing to getting any paint to stick is the prep work. So just sanding these will make sure that any dirt or any impurities are removed and that they're ready for paint. So I'm sanding and then wiping them clean and then putting them in a stack so that I can paint them. So now all the hardware is removed, so it's going to be my niece's turn to go ahead and take over the handle prep work. She had a question of, well, why are we making scratches? But the scratches are just surface level and they will get filled in with the paint. Just a warning, the background noise in some of these clips is loud, but I wanted to have you hear what I told her live in hopes of helping you learn better. So that is why we're going to leave the raw audio. So we have this primer. What you want to do is lightly go over and then come back. Don't stick in one spot too long. If you do, this is how you spray paint. If you stay in one spot too long, you make a puddle, and that doesn't work. So you just want to lightly go over it and come back. Okay, go over them again. You did a little light. I don't think you pushing it down hard enough. There you go. There you go. Yep. Yeah. Perfect. I'm gonna let that dry for about an hour and then flip them and do the underside. Okay. So you want to sand in the direction of the grain. That's what it's called, wood grain. So sand in the direction of the lines and make sure you don't use too much pressure because the edge is rounded and we don't want to flatten out or change the shape of it. So basically my next instructions to her were to just kind of get the outer corners because our orbital sander is round and it won't fit into those corners. So we're going to have to do some hand sanding in the corners and then we'll hit the big part in the center with the orbital sander, which will help us to save time. Previously, she has been afraid of the orbital sander, but I assured her that there's nothing to be afraid of. Just turn it on. And you see if she starts to go in circular motions, I tell her just to flatten out and go with the grain of the wood. And then now she learned how to use the orbital sander. So it's not that hard. I told her that the goal that we want to do is to remove the protective coat that the manufacturer put on this piece. And we want to remove it so that we can add our own paint and then add our own top coat. Since it's made to protect, that layer will prevent anything else from sticking to it. So we want to make sure we get that off. Here you can kind of see where she missed some corners and she's able to tell that she missed those spots because they're still shiny. So they still have that protective coating and we want that off. So she's going to have to hit those corners again with the hand sanding. Another instruction that I gave her that may help you, it seemed to help her, was to think about this as nail polish. So when you go to the nail shop, they do a base coat, a color, and then the top coat. We would just want to remove the top coat. We're just doing enough sanding to remove that top layer. Then we can add our own color, and then we can add our own top coat on top of that. One tip for beginners to have a successful furniture flip is to pick a piece that will help you. So you don't want to pick anything that's too ornate, that has a lot of curves or grooves for you to get into. You kind of want to pick a piece like this one that we're doing that has long, flat front panels on the drawers and on the top, nothing too ornate because you're going to have a difficult time sanding that. And so just for learning, you want to make sure that you pick a piece that is going to be easy, beginner friendly piece. If this project hadn't been already here and waiting for me to do, I would have probably picked a different one so that she wouldn't have to do all this hand sanding around the edges. But I don't have a sander that will get into grooves. So this is what we have to do in order to get into grooves, but not to damage them with the orbital sander. Another crucial tip for a beginner would be to pick something that is solid wood. I have a video on my channel that will help you to understand the different type of materials that furniture is made out of and to kind of try to help you decide if your piece is solid wood. Some people will tell you, like if you're on Marketplace picking up a piece, people will tell you that it's solid wood, but it's not. It's a veneer on top of particle board. And you know, if you're not great at sanding yet, I just wouldn't pick that. I would pick something that's solid wood through and through. The best kind of way, if you're just completely unsure, is just to pick an old piece. Most old furniture was made out of solid wood, and I'm talking old, as old as you can find it. Most of that stuff is made from good quality solid wood, and that will help you to flip better because you can't sand through veneer. You can't. There's some mistakes that you can avoid until you kind of learn your techniques and figure out what you're doing. Solid wood furniture is the way to go for beginners. So now all of our drawers are scuff sanded, and I'm going to move on to scuff sanding the body of the dresser, and she will move on to cleaning the drawers. So here I'm just doing more of the same of what she was doing, just removing that top protective layer in order to be able to add my own paint and have it stick. So I'm just going in the direction of the wood grain, and I'm using 220 grit sandpaper, and she also used 220 grit sandpaper. This liquid sandpaper is a magic trick for people who are not able to or willing to sand. What you do is put it on a microfiber cloth and rub it in on your piece in circular motions, and it will dissolve the top coat that we are removing with sanding. So on my piece right here, I have kind of an edge that my sander would destroy if I tried to use it on here, and I don't want to destroy any of the details on this piece. So I'm going to be using the liquid sandpaper in this area, and I'm just going to be buffing it in. Compare this area with this area. This area still has to shine and this area does not. And that's what this does. I could also use the liquid sandpaper on this groove that I'm sanding now, but I just opted to sand just because that's what my preference is and what I'm used to. And now I'm going back in with my orbital sander to finish up the flat areas. 99% of the time I use 220 grit sandpaper, and that is just because I feel more in control with a higher grit than a lower grit. And now this is all scuff sanded. Cutting back to my niece who is finishing up cleaning all the drawers. We are using a TSP cleaner to do this and a microfiber cloth with some warm water, and that's pretty much it. And here are all the drawers all laid out and cleaned up. Now I'm going in with this gold spray paint by Rust-Oleum, which is my favorite one, and I'm going to do 2 coats of gold paint on the top and 2 coats on the bottom side. I'm getting my gun ready to prime. So in the meantime, I had Zaza go ahead and prep the drawers for primer, and all she's doing is putting a clean line of tape. This way I can pull the drawers out some and have some space to paint around the edges without paint going into the drawers. And since we removed the handle, she's just using a long screw to put it in the handle holes and then pull the drawers out. I didn't want to force my niece to use the spray gun because I think it can be kind of intimidating. I know for a while mine sat in a box because I was too intimidated to use it. But if you are new and you don't have a sprayer, you could get a cheap one on Amazon. If you look at some of my older videos, I started out with the cheaper sprayer. This one is my upgrade after I got kind of the hang of it. But that initial sprayer that I had sat in a box for a long time because I was just afraid to use it. I don't know why, but I was. But it's not scary at all. But however, if you just can't or don't want to invest in a paint sprayer, I started out with a Dollar Tree paint roller, and then I upgraded to some nicer Klingon brushes, and now I'm using the paint sprayer. So you can take those same steps or figure out what works best for you. If you watch a lot of furniture flipping videos, you might wonder why a lot of furniture flippers use bin primer. That is because it blocks tannins, which are pigments in the wood that will show up in your paint if you don't block them. It also blocks odors, and it provides a really good layer to paint on top of. For me, I will probably always stick with bin primer even though the price is ridiculous just because I trust it and I've overcome that learning curve. But if this stuff dries out on you, it becomes really hard to work with, particularly if you are using it in a sprayer or trying to roll it or really any kind of way you're using it. You want to move quickly. So don't pour it out into your paint container or however you're painting your tray until you're ready to use it. Be ready to go because it can get really tacky kind of, and it dries hard, and then you have to do more sanding to remove it, and it just makes a mess if you're not kind of specific about how you use it. Here's how this looks after one coat is dry and the second coat is applied but it's still wet, and I can see I'm going to have to do a third coat, which is abnormal, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Even though Wise Owl 1 Hour Enamel is my favorite paint, I normally use Fusion because it is more accessible to me and more affordable, and I've figured out how to get a really good quality result on my furniture flips with the Fusion paint. So I was going to use Fusion for this flip, but I found out that the lavender color that they have is discontinued, so I just went with something economical, especially since I knew this would be a beginner-friendly video. I got this Waverly paint from Walmart. This is the paint that I started with, and this is a really good quality chalk paint. So if you want to roll it, it's very forgiving, and I think it's a really good paint for the cost. So I went ahead and mixed up a custom mix of lavender. Here's how it looked after the third coat of primer was applied. It's still a little bit wet, but I like the coverage now better, so I'm going to stop priming at this point. This paint is very thick, so I'm going to add about 25% water before adding this into my sprayer container. And now I'm going in with my paint, much like I did with my primer. Let me know in the comments if you would like a separate video with tips and tricks about using the paint sprayer. While you watch me spray, I just want to add a shameless plug and ask that you subscribe to my channel. Thumbs up the video if you learned anything or if you enjoyed the video. And leave any tips and tricks if you're a furniture flipper or if you have anything useful that a beginner might want to know. Please leave a comment and let me know, or just say hey to me. Leave an emoji. Let me know you liked the video. Let me know you hated it. Let me know whatever it is that you have to say in the comment section. Here's how this looks after one coat of paint is applied. You'll notice some areas like right here where there's not enough paint, and some areas that are really wet and some that are dry or drying really quickly. So this is just after one coat has been applied. It's a really hot day, so that's helping my paint to dry quickly. And also this is a rather large piece, so by the time I got to the right side, the left side seems to have started drying already. Here is some footage of me doing the sides and the top edges, and that piece of tape that my niece put on is protecting the sides of the drawers from any overspray. And for anyone who's going to try to hand paint, I did just want to add in a little footage of me hand painting some of the edges as well, just so you can see how I do it. I'm using just a cheap brush from Michaels. You could also use the roller. If you're rolling, you can roll out the edges. That's what I used to do. But if you're hand painting, this is what I try to do, as many long straight strokes as possible. And if I have to break it up in shorter strokes like what I'm doing now, I just make sure that I do a long stroke over top of that area to kind of mask any brush marks that may appear. To add a little extra pizzazz, I ordered this transfer off Amazon, and we're just cutting out the pieces that we need. About half of my transfer was unusable. It had stuck to itself inside the packaging, so we're just going to be scraping to see what we can salvage. And now we're kind of just mapping out our pieces, trying to see what we can use and where we want to place what little pieces that we have. So we're going to start out by peeling off the clear film and then tucking back the white paper, or either you can cut it if you want. And then we're going to just start sticking the transfer and using the brayer that they add in with the transfer to push it down. When I first started flipping, I was very intimidated by transfers, but they're really easy to use. You simply peel off the backing and stick them on. I told her that this was like those temporary tattoos that you would get as a kid that you kind of just rub onto your skin or pat with a paper towel or water and they just come off. I told her that analogy for her to understand how to do this. So that's really all the instruction that I gave her. I had her read the instructions that came with it, and she's applying transfers like a pro. One question that she had that you may have is, if you're doing this across drawer fronts, how do you separate the pieces? And it's really simple. You just cut it with some, if you have long pointy scissors, you can use that, but I used an X-Acto knife to just cut it and fold it inward underneath the top drawer and on top of the lower drawer. Here's just a little more footage of me doing more of the same. I've got my transfer piece and I'm gonna bray it, and then I'm gonna slowly peel it back. And any areas that aren't adhered yet, I'm gonna flatten my film down again, go over it with the brayer again, and just keep on pulling until it's totally released. My client asked that I add some gold accents, so I'm just going to have my niece use some Rub and Buff to add a little bit of extra gold. And without further ado, here are the final finished images of this flip. Off camera, we reattached the hardware, and also I sprayed 2 coats of polyacrylic. Big shouts out and much love to my niece for helping us get through this video. Let me know if this format was helpful to you, if you learned something new, if this was the beginner-friendly video that you wanted to see. Hope you enjoyed these final images of our finished product. I still have a little bit of top coat drying at this point, but I'm filming these final images on Sunday and this video is going up today, so just bear with me. If you watched my haul video and are curious, of course I did use the lavender scented drawer liners since I have no other plans of doing lavender anytime soon, but hey, I never planned on doing this one, so I guess we'll see what comes next, but I appreciate you all for watching. If you have the time, please select another one of my videos to watch from the choices on my screen or in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next flip.